Only $14.99.
Don't miss the call. Download Band. Communication made easy.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting night of League of Legends with CSL and ULOL. My name is Brian Brain, Starkey, and I am joined tonight by the one and only Hype Squad, Degon. How you doing tonight, my man? I am hanging in there. Really excited for this game tonight between University of Texas San Antonio and the University of Georgia.
Yeah, the Bulldogs against the Roadrunners. Roadrunners coming in here, UT San Antonio, the #1 seed overall in the South bracket. The Georgia Bulldogs coming in as number 8. Both teams had to play a round of 16 matchup and came out victorious and are here battling it out in the round of 8.
Yeah, this is actually a little bit exciting for me. No bias, but I actually am located in Atlanta, Georgia, about 2 hours north or so of Athens, where UGA is located. So it's a little bit of a home turf game for me. But overall, I'm excited to finally see some representation from the East.
Absolutely. We got to see UT San Antonio, I believe, just last Monday. It was just Monday that we got to see him play the final round of 16 matchup against Vanderbilt. Stuck with a couple of technical issues, got finished a little bit late, but UT San Antonio went ahead, took the 2-0, beat Vandy. On the opposite side, the Bulldogs in the round of 16 already have knocked out a Texas school in North Texas, the Mean Green. They went down 2-1 to the Bulldogs. And these two teams look ready, primed for action, solid seeding throughout the tournament. They went about their business in the regular season, and they're ready now for this playoff matchup.
Yeah, and it does look like we are all set up on our end. We will be doing the readies coming out, and it does look like we are going to be going into Champ Select here very, very shortly. Yes, and here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Champ Select, the University of Texas San Antonio is on blue side. Georgia is going to be on that red side to start. I've noticed that depending on red or blue side, we do see some different bands coming out. Something to note, however,
Never look back.
is that this patch is currently on 7.5, so that has the most recent changes. We haven't really seen a lot of pro play with it yet, so I'm curious to see how these teams are kind of going to adapt to some of the nerfs that came out.
Yep, some of the nerfs, some of the changes. There was a change to Blade of the Rune King as well. Aatrox coming back into the meta.
Yep.
Interesting little tidbit there. Fizz buffs to damage, but nerfs to chum the waters. You won't be able to step on it. So not that we've seen a ton of Fizz lately. So we'll get our first look here at 7.5 competitive here in the CSL.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be really great. I'm surprised that the Varus ban came out. He's still very strong, but he actually got nerfed pretty heavily in 7.5 as well.
Yeah, one of those things where he falls off late, maybe a little bit in the mid game, but his damage still can be potent if you're kind of spamming arrows within the lane. It's just the max damage when you hold out the arrow was dropped, so something to look out for. But lethality, still lethality. Lots of damage coming out of Varus, very safe AD carry, one of the meta picks. Still Chains of Corruption, big CC coming out of your AD carry, utility champion. Still something that is worthy of being banned from University of Georgia.
Yeah, I agree, and that also leaves Jhin on the table with those with that Varus ban coming out. So we'll see if someone decides to pick that up. With the recent nerfs to Deathfire's Touch, I believe it changed the scaling from 60% of your AD burn over time to 40%, and that's actually pretty heavy against both Jhin and Varus as well.
Yeah, and so maybe it'll change up the current holy trinity of AD carries in the bot lane of utility, which goes by Jhin, Varus, and Ashe. So Ashe kind of untouched, maybe goes up. Maybe we see a little bit more Sivir, seeing a lot more Ezreal in pro play, but that opens up the door maybe to other AD carries, something else. So we'll get to see. But the first pick coming in the jungle, going to be Graves, still considered one of the top tier junglers after you get rid of Kha'Zix. Rengar, kind of not exactly the same. The nerfs hit him hard, and I believe he got hit again in this patch notes. So Graves, top tier jungler, taken for UTSA.
Yeah, that's a big pickup, but I would say maybe be on the lookout to see if Kindred gets picked up. She did get some quality of life changes, I guess is what I would call them, in this 7.5 patch. Made her early jungling with her passive a little bit more safe and reliable, I think. Adding a little bit more consistency to her jungle pathing and allowing her to play some mind games depending on how the jungler is playing as well.
Absolutely. Just one of those picks that it was great while it was in the meta, has a game-changing ultimate, but not exactly sure if it's going to, that's enough. We'll get to see how the pros do it, see if anyone here in CSL wants to do it, as we do have two more picks locked in, this time for the University of Georgia. It's going to be the AD carry Ashe. We talked about it right there, being locked in for Cookies OP, and Gragas being locked in here, possibly in the top lane, possibly in the jungle.
Yeah, who knows? I did see Gragas jungle a couple times in the games that I've been playing. Granted, they have been, you know, those quick play draft, not the ranked ones, but Gragas does seem to be a little bit more favorable because he does bring a little bit of that damage, tankiness that maybe we might start to see in the jungle with some of these nerfs coming in against some of the more damage-heavy junglers like Kha'Zix and Rengar and things like that.
Something I find interesting, neither of these teams wanted to get rid of any of the support pool. There's Karma left up. The Jhin obviously locked in. So another top tier bot lane locked in for Flying Dutchman and Ro8 of UT San Antonio.
Yeah, that's actually really big, especially combined with that Graves. We have seen a lot of Graves during the CSL and in this ULOL season. He's definitely been one of the most go-to picks. And I've seen that the team that has Graves tends to win a little bit more often than the team that doesn't. He's just so strong early, and he does so much damage, even like tier squishies and all of that, like towards the late game, that it's just, he becomes very oppressive if he starts to get going. And I think that's something that UGA might have to be on the lookout for, is how are they going to deal with shadowy figures, Graves in the jungle.
With these next two picks, though, I figure a top laner is going to get selected here for the University of Georgia. You've got Shen left up. The big tree Maokai left up. A lot of the top laners left up. And, oh, it's going to be Nautilus locked in here, probably in the top lane for Mikhail. That tanky top lane teleport meta still there. And he's going to do his best to hold off. We'll get to see who he's going up against here once UTSA picks.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if they do decide to go with the Maokai pick. Maokai did get nerfed in 7-4, but those nerfs were actually a little bit underwhelming compared to what I was like reading into with the numbers. Like taking away the landing damage on his sapling toss, I thought would do a little bit more to hurt his landing phase, even with the increase of mana cost to his arcane smash. But he doesn't really seem to be phased by that. So it makes me wonder is like what will actually like make Maokai like one of the less consistent picks that we see in pro play and in the CSL.
I don't know. He's just very massive, especially once he hits level 6. It's so difficult to get through the maelstrom and it. So I would think it'd be something off the ultimate. But going back to these picks here, CC on every single champion on the side of Georgia. Excuse me. And Georgia is going to utilize that fully here, and it's going to be a Victor. And there it is. The Maokai locked in, as we thought. Tarsi are going to be playing that one. But Victor getting picked in here after having Orianna and Syndra banned away. So kind of a little bit of a throwback there. Going to be in the mid lane, a safe go-to pick that almost every mid laner needs to know.
Yeah. Yeah, ever since Victor got those buffs, I think it was back at the end around or the middle of season 6, he's kind of been a staple in pro play, and with LeBlanc getting nerfed really, really hard in 7-5. I'm not surprised that we didn't see a LeBlanc pick come through because of that. With a 99% like pick ban rate in pro play and seeing her almost get pick banned every time in CSL, she did need those nerfs. And so Victor, like you said, great pocket pick, along with Cass actually is a great pocket pick for every mid laner to know as well.
Yeah, Cassiopeia, again, just another one of those fallback champions. Not so much a number 1 pick right now. I'm very surprised that, I'm very surprised that Rise wasn't picked up there. Rise was played by Berger in both their wins last series against University of North Texas. But instead, they're going to go with the Cassiopeia. So every member on the side of UGA has CC, and we'll get to see how they want to utilize that.
Yeah, that's gonna be huge. The Ash arrow for the engage, the Nami for the Nami tidal wave for the follow up. You can use the Gragas ultimate to displace tanks, catch out squishies, along with the Nautilus ultimate. Actually, I mean, there's just so much CC coming out from UGA. It's almost like they want to like pick their fights, and then when they pick their fights, they want to control you for the entirety of them.
Absolutely. And on the opposite side for UTSA, you got the movement speed there with Karma to help move around the team, but again, just a lot of damage coming out, and they need to be careful. If they fall behind, their burst without Maokai, say Maokai and Nautilus are going to be the opposite side of the map, their burst without Maokai, if it's not enough to take someone down, there's a lot of persistent damage coming out of the other side of the Cassiopeia, out of the Ash, with the Gragas being a pseudo tank in the front line, and Nami continually getting the heals and empowering some auto attacks. It might not be enough. So we see a little bit of kind of like a catch burst damage type composition here out of UTSA, and just a solid zoning team composition that really wants to get a pick. If you get a pick, you get a CC, knock someone down, and then use the numbers advantage to win the rest of the fight out of University of Georgia.
Yeah, that was actually a really great analysis. You didn't really leave me a lot to say there, man. You're crushing it so far.
All good, B. I'm sure there's more there. Where do you see the optimal team fights here for UTSA? So if Georgia wants picks and they kind of have a good zoning team composition, where does UTSA want to find their advantages?
I think they're going to find a lot of the advantages. Jen's ultimate is still really good for those engages. Victor is still very strong with his poke, with his E and his laser. Graves still has a lot of damage coming off of a flank. If Tarsier is able to use that teleport to get in behind them or even get a flank on one of the squishies using that maelstrom, it really will allow Graves to get into the middle of that fight and Victor to do a lot of burst damage with that ultimate. Typically, if you can get the enemy clumped up as you're with Victor, that's like one of the ideal scenarios for you.
Yep. So Victor he's kind of the zoning champion there, using Chaos Storm and trying to get people stuck in the field. But we'll get to see how this is going to go once we get loaded into the game. So with 1 minute and 10 seconds left, let's go ahead and take a quick minute to shout out our sponsors. Thank you so much. All of the sponsors making the Collegiate Star League possible. First with Band Gaming. primary social app for the Collegiate Star League with many features such as creating groups, boards, calendar functions, polls, chat, and as of recently, call functionality. Band is the premier social experience for you and your fellow gamers alike. Find out more at band.us/home or find them in the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store. Also, Twitch, obviously Twitch, the largest streaming platform in gaming. Thank you so much for supporting collegiate esports once again from PAX East to PAX West, and I'll be there at PAX East this weekend.
Oh, dang.
Many more events at CSL, and many more events. CSL wouldn't be what it is without the help from them. Be sure to hit them up on Twitter and on Facebook, twitter.com/Twitch and facebook.com/Twitch. And finally, the latest edition, the newest edition. Thank you to Asus for being the provider of everything esports, from their wonderful products such as monitors, laptops, routers, graphic cards, motherboards, and more. Don't enter your next battle unless you're equipped with Asus. We're going to take a short break, but when we come back, we'll have game one between UTSA and the Georgia Bulldogs.
Only $14.99.
Don't miss the call. Download Band. Communication made easy.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are loaded onto the Rift for game one between the University of Texas San Antonio on that blue side and the University of Georgia on the red side. To give you guys a quick rundown of the players, we have Tarsier in the top lane on Maokai, shadowy figure as Graves in the jungle, El Mexicant as Victor in that mid lane, Flying Dutchman playing that Jhin in the AD carry role, and Ro8 playing that Karma as the support. Degon, you want to take us over for UGA?
Of course, and for the Bulldogs in the top lane, it's X McHale playing Nautilus. In the jungle, it's Chauso playing Gragas. In the mid lane, it's Burger playing Cassiopeia. And the bot lane is rounded out with Cookies OP and Explosive Haze on Ashe and Nami.
Man, these are like some really great names that we have in the game tonight, man.
Absolutely. Puns are ready to go. I don't know about you, but I'm ready to drop some puns and make Twitch chat give me the Craigasms.
Dude, you have to do it, man. My puns are nowhere near as good as they should be. Like, the puns I have are like extremely like cringe worthy. They're not actually like CSL worthy.
No. The crowd deserves them. Don't hold back. Just give it to them. They're ready. They're ready for it. You've got all season to prepare. Let your puns unleash here in the playoffs.
That's true. I mean, we do have to see teams unleash, so why not have the casters going ham too, right?
Exactly. So looking here, it does look like we're going to have standard jungle starts. Graves going to start on the bottom side of the map to pick up his red. Going to stop by the rafters on the opposite side. Gragas starts at blue, picking up the wolves, and they will probably meet in the top lane around 3 minutes, 15 seconds, around that time frame. So we'll keep an eye on that on the camera.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is going to depend on how these early CS leads go. We do see pretty often that the team that gets that slight early CS lead is almost able to make things happen around the map a lot faster, and I don't think it has to do solely with the CS lead, but I think a lot of it has to do with like when they have that CS lead, they have maybe like a 10 damage advantage over their enemy, and that allows the jungler to have a much easier gank, and then that's where we kind of really see things start to snowball from there. And so
snowballing.
Oh, go ahead.
Nope, that's all. That's all I had. Snowball indeed.
Oh. Yeah, that's right. It's like we're playing an ARAMs up in here, man. So, I think the lane for me to watch right now, I would say, is if Victor gets going in that mid lane, he becomes a very big pain to deal with if you're Cass or if you're Ashe or even Nami. Just because those targets are so squishy, and none of those three really have any kind of escape to get away from him once he starts to catch you out and get that damage down. So if he does start to get going on that Victor early on, UGA needs to be very careful of that.
Needs to be very careful indeed, but in this bot lane right now, it does look like the poke is out sustaining the heal from Nami. Both Flying Dutchman and Ro8 doing a great job landing their skills. They have inspiration to go in for auto attack trades, and Cookies OP and Explosive Haze need to be a little bit careful, make sure they don't get too chunked down to give Chauso an opportunity to come gank the bot lane.
Yeah, I think something that happens a lot when I watch Nami lanes is they tend to have, oh, hang on, big fight here in the middle.
Exhaust coming down, Burger gonna get stunned up there in the field. Very, very lucky move. Gravity field coming down by Mexicant. And he's gonna be pretty low and looking like a pretty juicy target for the University of Georgia Bulldogs to come gank in a little bit.
Yeah, that actually is really big too, because Burger did burn his exhaust for that, and El Mexicant didn't lose anything. Actually, he lost his pots, but that puts him right equal at items, at least against Burger, and Burger doesn't have hardly any mana as well. So El Mexicant will go back. He will pick up an early Negatron cloak. Really wants to play safe against Burger with that Cassiopeia.
Yeah, not strange to see when you're in a mage versus mage matchup, getting the Abyssal Scepter. It's a go-to item here as your first item. So Victor just going to farm it out until he can get the Blast Wand and get some AP later.
Yeah, I think oh my goodness, very good double bubble coming out of the side of Explosive Haze. If he keeps landing those, he's going to be very obnoxious to deal with against San Antonio.
Absolutely. A little bit of a trade there, though. Flying Dutchman walking up with the last shot from Whisper and not really being traded back at all. But Explosive Haze doing a solid job with mana control as well, continuously staying above 50% and keeping the health bars higher. So what I was saying earlier about trading and losing the poke trades, not exactly true, as we do see, ooh, almost the snare going down, bubble landing, and it's going to stop a little bit of the aggression there. So just a little bit of trading back and forth in the bottom lane. Nothing too great, but keep an eye on your minimap. Gragas is coming around.
Yeah, that's gonna be huge. If Gragas is able to make something happen, burn a flash, burn a heal out of a Flying Dutchman, that is going to be an excellent setup for pretty much anything to happen with Mikhail hitting that level 6 in the top lane. He does have that torpedo ultimate available, so he could teleport into any of those 3 wards that we see on the bottom side jungle for UGA and make something happen there in the bottom lane.
Yeah, a little bit of trading happening. Probably too chunked down right now, but Ro8 getting caught up. Flying Dutchman low on mana, so doesn't have a lot to trade. Double exhaust going down at the same time. Flash being forced away. Now Ro8 going back very low. The heal comes down from Dutchman. Probably not necessary, but trade win there for Georgia.
Yeah, man, that was huge. That was just overall not a great trade by the side of San Antonio. Flying Dutchman didn't have hardly any mana for that fight. He's been spamming those bouncing grenades to try to get that poke down onto Cookie's OP and Explosive Haze, but like you said, Explosive Haze has been doing an excellent job with that mana management and has been able to use her healing to just keep Cookies and herself alive while applying a fair bit of poke and harass down onto Ro8 and to Flying Dutchman. I mean, very strong lane play that we're seeing out of UGA so far.
Yeah, and you know, I don't think it's the dancing grenade that's been kind of killing the mana pool for Flying Dutchman. It's been the Deadly Flourish, trying to capitalize on the snares after Karma throws out the inner flame. Karma throws out the inner flame, you're trying to get down the snare, catch someone, and then try to get a couple of auto attacks down. And so far, he's landed a couple, but he's missed more than he's made. That's what led to a lot of the mana deficiency there, which then led to a losing trade.
Yeah,
so you see Tarsier getting a little low, forced to flash backwards, flash in, and that's going to be a kill. Mikhail should be able to walk this one out. Maybe, yes, he is. And so a little bit of a misplay there. We saw the twisted advance go in, and that was his doom.
Yeah, that was actually really unfortunate for the side of Tarsier. He got a little too close. He did spend a lot of time brawling against Nautilus before he had his own Balmy Cinder. So Mikhail did have a Balmy Cinder, so he was laying down magic damage, just being in the area, hitting him with auto attacks, landing his undertow. I mean, overall, Tarsier just got, I think, too aggressive before he had the items or at least the skill with that Maelstrom to try to help him survive against that damage.
You know, and these players, they've been consistently winning, right? These teams have consistently won. They're the best in their school. They've obviously made it to this point in the playoffs, so they're some of the best players in the region. And so for Tarsier, we're keeping a look at the CS lead there. For Tarsier to get bodied like that and down that far, he probably felt the pressure to go ahead and try to make a play, and that's exactly what he didn't do. He ended up getting aggressive, going in at the wrong time, and getting punished for it.
Just like that, like we literally just saw. He tried to go throw down some harass, fight Mikhail in the middle of his own minions, mind you. But I mean, it's just not happening. And if he keeps trying to force these fights, he's going to get into a very bad position. But luckily, Shadow Figure here is in the top lane to make something happen.
Shadow Figure is here. Mikhail probably going to try and turn and pick up something, but it doesn't look like he's going to be able to. Dredge line to the wall, not going to be enough. And he's going to go down there. So a very, very solid play there by Tarsier to get Shadowy Figure an early kill. 1-1 as a score.
Yeah, that was very well done. Good rotation. We did see Chaosu come into that bot lane for maybe trying to counter gank there. But luckily, the side of Flying Dutchman and Ro8, they have an early ward out there to make sure that they didn't have any bot lane bush sneaks coming out to get them. So overall, they stayed pretty safe. They did manage to burn out the ultimate from Cookies OP, and it does look like UGA might get this first tower. There are 3 members compared to 2. Yeah, there it is. And that actually is not as big as it was pre-7-4, but it is still really huge because that does apply a lot more pressure in the bot lane, and it allows a little bit more flexibility. I'm trying to get this dragon and free up some neutral game pressure there in the bot lane as well.
Mountain Drake's always helpful. Burn down the neutral objectives, towers, other dragons, and Baron. And definitely accelerates the late game. If you get to late game, you don't have a Mountain Drake. It can be difficult sometimes, but if you get 1, maybe 2, you burn through towers, and it becomes very, very difficult to mount a stand. And that's going to bode well for the Bulldogs of Georgia here against UT San Antonio. So San Antonio kind of searching for some answers right now here. 11 minutes into the game. They're down about 2,000 gold, and a lot of that gold is in the top lane. It's almost doubled in the top lane right now by Mikhail. And Tarsier obviously got that assist, but he's been definitely struggling with CSing under tower and with a lot of pressure in his face coming from Mikhail.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that is going to be a huge storyline to track for this game is Mikhail able to keep up that pressure that he's been putting on Tarsier this whole game, right? If he's able to carry over that pressure he's putting down into the team fights and putting pressure onto Shadowy Figure, putting pressure onto El Mexican, you know, kind of forcing them to not be in the positions that they need to be to do damage, that leaves Burger and Cookies OP a lot of kind of freedom to move around the team fight as they see fit.
Now, one thing that Mexican has been doing so far, actually, we have a little bit of a gank coming in the mid lane. Mexican forced it back up. I was just about to praise him for his safe play, and here it comes. Flash away by Chaosu. Not going to be enough. Collateral damage is going to be there. Shadowy Figure stalking Burger. Burger trying to get the damage down. Twin Fangs, one more might do it. And yes, it's a double kill. Both of them trading kills. Crazy stuff in the mid lane.
Yeah, that was huge. Chaosu actually missed a couple of skills that would have been really great to land there. He did whiff his barrel toss 1 or 2 times, but on the same chord, Shadowy Figure missed missed that Q to do the last bit of damage to Burger, allowing him to stay alive longer to actually end up killing him. So overall, equal misplays to both sides, equaling to equal trades. Oh, Ro8 getting hit by the Crystal Arrow though.
Crystal Arrow now knocked up by the tidal wave. Mikhail there to try to add some more CC. Pop up, going down, flash away. Not going to be enough. Mikhail picks that one up, and Summoner's Spell blown there by Ro8. Great long-range arrow coming out of Cookie's OP.
Yeah, and that is kind of what we talked about in Champion Select, right? Getting that pick, kind of doing some zone there to force the advantages in the different lanes. And Cookie's OP already proven us right with a little bit of our early game analysis.
Thank you, Cookie's OP, for making us sound smart.
That's exactly right. And something else to note is while we're at 13 and 20 minutes already, we see a Dragon already going over to the side of UGA, first tower going over to the side of UGA, and pretty good CS leads across the board for all the lanes, excluding jungle. For UGA as well. They've played this early game extremely well and extremely smart, and so I think this, if they're able to carry over the advantages that they've won right now into this mid game at least a little bit, they should be able to have a relatively easy time of pushing down at least one or two more turrets before UTSA is able to rally and push back a little bit.
Absolutely. Cassiopeia scales very well into the late game. We got to see Midlet pull that one out. Cassiopeia and do well with Team Liquid earlier last week. Ashe, another scaling AD carry. Just lots of damage coming out when she's able to get to 5-6 items. A little bit more than Jin. Jin falls off with the lethality build. It does a lot of damage, but you're able to go ahead and itemize against it. So, but again, Graves, you got multi-AD carry coming out of the side of UT San Antonio, so don't count them out quite yet. I think one of the big ways to get back in here, though, is getting vision, and we're seeing both teams putting down wards, fighting over vision, and trying to gain priority in these neutral objectives. Yeah. And you can see a kind of like a gang squad right now on the top side of the river on the minimap get pinged out by UTSA, and everyone kind of falls back.
Yeah, and that's what you were saying with the strength of the wards there. The Crystal Arrow just missing out Mexicant, but there is Mikhail to knock him up.
Yep, Mexicant already has blown Flash. We know that, and down he goes. Burger, he's the king. He picks up yet another kill. Now Tarsier teleporting in, does have Nail Stripman going to the front line, trying to get Chauso and Mikhail down. Shadowy Figure is going to live through the barrel toss. Explosive count's not going to be enough, but Burger picking up another one. That's 2 kills for him in this team fight. Now stepping up under tower, doesn't want to do that. Overall, it's a 3 for none. Huge win for University of Georgia.
Yeah, very well done. I mean, the health bars of UGA got so low so many times. Chelsea getting low, Explosive Haze getting low, Burger getting to about half health 1 or 2 times. But UTSA just wasn't able to finish them off, and I think some of that has to do with the item deficiencies and where the gold is for the side of UTSA.
UTSA just organizing it, even though there was vision. So as much as I would like to call that a good play from UTSA or from Georgia, I think that's kind of like a little bit of disrespect from UTSA. You know that they have multiple forms of CC. Cookie's OP went ahead, shot a long-range enchanted crystal arrow that missed. But still, where's the Nautilus? Where's the Nami? And they didn't take that into consideration and got punished by the multiple forms of CC to slow them down.
Yeah, and I think some of it was that El Mexicant was actually in a really bad position even before that fight even started. So when Cookie's OP with that crystal arrow, hang on, looks like we're gonna get ganked.
Oh, and the battle for vision goes all wrong. 3 more kills heading on over. The enchanted crystal arrow perfectly lined up for that one. Give 1 to Ashe. She's 1 and 3. 5, 1 and 2 in the mid lane. 3, 1 and 2 in the top lane. And it's just a little bit too easy right now for Georgia.
Yeah, they are taking those advantages that we talked about in the early game and are running with them. While UTSA did a good job of trying to set up vision in both sides of the top and bottom river to kind of protect their flanks in that mid lane, they didn't really respect the fact that they had that vision up, right? Like, they knew where the enemy was. Like you were saying, they knew where UGA was. I mean, Chauso, where he wasn't a surprise. Mikhail wasn't a surprise. I mean, his TP isn't on cooldown, so he didn't use that to get into the fight. And so, like you said, it's a little bit of disrespect, but then some of it, I think, is like not using the tools that you put on the map yourself, like using those wards that were protecting both of your flanks to not be in a compromising position. And that kind of relates back to just that last fight, even with, you know, 3 people hanging out in that river bush and not able to make anything come of it because they don't have great vision of where the side of UGA was again. I mean, it's...
I think it's a little bit of an issue of trying to ward too far out. You're warding too far out. If you don't have wards before that, because you look at the map, you can see the one ward that they got down as they died, but they didn't have anything in the river. They didn't have anything past that. Ward what you can first, then work your way up. Yes, you're going with like a kill squad, but is your kill squad stronger than their kill squad? The answer is no, especially if you're the one that gets initiated on. You're put in a de facto 2v3, possibly 2v4, and we saw what happened there. 2 of them died immediately. The final arrow came in on Shadowy Figure. He's not able to get any damage down, and they just fall apart. And now the gold lead is massive here, almost 7,000 in under 20 minutes.
Yeah, and that is really, really bad for them because, like you were saying earlier, the side of UGA has an excellent scaling comp right now, right? Cassiopeia scales very, very well from the mid game into the late game. Cookie's OP on that Ashe starts to scale very well. Additionally, and Chao Suo, not to underestimate Gragas's damage, he does start to do damage, and if your carries are farther behind and they're not able to at least get some kind of item to help them survive, they're going to be in a little bit of an issue as well.
Oh, Cookies and Cream Cookies OP. Cream doing a little bit of face checking there. Takes a couple to the face. Explosive Haze getting very low, but nice body blocking. Look at Chauso. Doesn't look like he took any damage at all. Chauso healthy right now. Mikhail going onto the front line. Forced to back up now because the rest of his team is very low. Explosive Haze almost gets taken down. In the end, it's just a little bit of trading back and forth, but UTSA getting the jump in that fight and still not finding a kill.
Yeah, and I think that kind of speaks a lot to the kind of gold differential and item differential that we're seeing right now. The only 3 kills for the side of UTSA are on that Graves, but Shadowy Figure is the one that keeps getting caught out.
Oh, Mikhail now getting caught up, does have this the cowl, but is still taking a lot of damage, and Flying Dutchman going to pick that one up. And there's a little bit of a chain CC reaction there from UTSA, so the Roadrunners finding a kill and trying to find a way back into the game. Let's think about the Cloud9 approach to things. We found a kill, what can we do? And I think they're doing the important thing, which is let's de-ward our jungle. Let's take advantage of what we can do right now. If they're not overreaching, they're not trying to go make a play for Baron, they're just, let's clear out our wards in our jungle and do that for now.
Yeah, and I think that is going to be very big. For them, if they're able to clear out that wards, put up the defensive stance that they need. As you always hear in League of Legends, the easiest way back into the game is with vision, so you know where to not be when the enemy is in fact there. Especially if you're farther behind, that is the ideal scenario. Be there to defend your towers and stuff like that, but don't be there to get ganked by the Goon Squad.
Don't be there to get ganked by the Goon Squad at all. And still, as much as the Roadrunners tried to go ahead and clear out the bottom side of the map, just look at the blue side jungle. It's littered with red wards all over the place, and all of the bushes on the bottom side, including the bot lane bush, the raptor bush, the red buff bush. It's all over, and there's not too much that UTSA can do right now. Unfortunately, they don't know they're sitting on a ward. There it is. So that gets spotted out. So the Fnatic bush gets taken out, and there it is. So Vision Battle 1. No one died. UTSA, small strides back into it. Victor farming up on the top side of the map, and although he's 0-2, does have a CS lead now on Burger, but a flash forward over the wall, Flying Dutchman, great play there, fancy feet, coming from the Texas team, 80 carry right there. And so flash burn by the top laner and 80 carry.
Yeah, that's actually a very favorable trade for UGA. Flying Dutchman not having that flash puts him in an awful position in the next team fights, especially because Mikhail, Chausuo, and Cookies OP have all been doing a very good job of initiating key targets at the beginning of fights, and that's been huge for them in winning the fights, is getting the proper initiations. And with Flying Dutchman not having that, that means he really has to play like kind of, I think it's called like the double lift Jhin, where you just stand so far out of the fight that you really only use your oh my goodness.
Yep, he's staying so far out of the fight, he's going to get taken down by the Burger King. Down he goes, though, finally. Another rectification kill coming from El Mexican. Now we got to fight. It's a 1v2 here. Chauso in so much trouble. Flashes over the wall. Cookies OP now getting chased by Mexicant. Mexicant, maybe he can. Long range Ray, not going to land. Chauso able to get away because of poor target management. And so what looked like it could have been 3 kills only ends up being 1 for 1 here.
Yeah, very sloppy team fight, but that does at least give them control of the Dragon Pit a little bit, allowing them to maybe rush down this Infernal Drake, which is something that they could use very badly in the situation that they're in right now. And it's getting very tense around this jungle. Chauso and Mikhail going in.
Oh, yep, going in. Smite battle, and who loses it first? It's only going to be UTSA's Dragon, but now how does he shadowy figure get out? Tarsier, the tree, gonna get cut down. Chauso gonna take that one. Oh, the dredge line barely missing at the last second. That would have been catastrophic for shadowy figure. Instead, it's just 1 kill for an Infernal Drake, and I think that's pretty good here for UTSA.
Yeah, that's actually really big for them because you do see Infernal Drake really start to have its largest effect. Around that 2-item mark, the 2-item completed mark is really where you start to see Infernal Drake start to stack. Oh no, El Mexican.
Oh, Fanatic push. Oh, Mexicant barely getting away. Shadowy figure getting saved by the blast cone. Interesting interaction there, but a nice smooth escape from UTSA. But Georgia's still up. Solid 6,000 gold lead, not the 7,000 that we saw earlier. In very good command of this game, and now going to transfer their vision battle from the bottom lane to the top lane.
Yeah, and setting up around Baron would be the next logical step for UGA, and this is the point in the game that I was talking about. Is UGA able to use those advantages that they got in the early game to push down those 2 more towers, right? So they did manage to go from 1 to 3 since I talked about that. But now we are kind of starting to see them stall out a little bit, right? They had advantage in that Dragon Pit. They really only managed to kill Tarsier there, and so it makes me wonder if they're a little bit hesitant to take these fights because they don't want to throw it too early, or if they just like really decided they didn't want that dragon fight. Because being hesitant at this midpoint of the game is really where I see teams start to falter a lot more. In the CSL, their mid-game decision-making really puts a lot of stress on them, and so if they're not able to make something happen, it's really bad.
Yeah, and really thinking about that last play there in the Dragon Pit, shadowy figure was one-on-one with Chauso. Like, Chauso could have easily won that dragon, and that would have changed the complexity to this game as we have double teleports coming in. Both top laners going to keep it? No, it's going to be canceled by Mikhail, so that's going to be Baron averted, but now a little bit of a TP advantage coming for the side of the Bulldogs. Shadowy figure looking at something there. Oh, Chauso gonna body slam over the wall and get home safe, but a teleport play, maybe we'll see something here in 4 minutes.
Yeah, and that's what we were talking about, right? Like, setting up around Baron is the next logical step for UGA, but with Mikhail split pushing there in that bot lane, that does kind of force Tarsier to be there to go and answer. And by burning that teleport out of Tarsier, that takes away the only tank that the side of UTSA has. And so that gives a lot more freedom to UGA to force fights around the map and be safer because they still have Chauso on that AP and, kind of tank role with that Gragas.
It's going to take a lot of coordination from University of Texas San Antonio not to get caught out by just the multiple forms of crowd control that are in the team composition of the Georgia Bulldogs. I got to see that on Monday. It was George Mason against UT Austin, and UT Austin in the very first game played against a multiple CC bot type team coming out of George Mason, and UT Austin did a fantastic job staying organized, staying together, and not getting themselves caught out. However, it was in the middle of the game, so it was early in the game, so they were able to weather the storm here. So UTSA needs to show that same sort of coordination to make sure no one's going in by themselves. They made sure that things are de-warded, and they keep track of crowd control and of cooldowns. And so right now, shadowy figure was a little risky there. Cookies OP and Chauso were pretty close, relatively in the area to get some CC down. Instead, they're going to hold on to it and just continue to play this vision game on the top side of the map.
Yeah, and luckily, UTSA did manage to get down at least that one ward that's sitting in front of the Baron pit, so they have vision of whether or not they're starting it. But the issue is that now that UGA has pushed so far into their jungle, like if UGA decides to bait out a Baron in the Fnatic bush or even hang around the corner and try to get a pick, that puts UGA in a huge position, especially because we still have teleport advantage for the side of UGA as well.
Well, not quite yet. It is in about 10 seconds here. Mikhail will have it up. So now Tarsier, you see what Tarsier is doing. He's forced to follow Mikhail around the map. And then once his spells are down, he has to back up because he's going to continually lose that trade. Arcane Smash not going to be enough damage there, as we do see Cookie's OP getting caught out. Cookie's tasting delicious, but he will live. But the curtain call, the final number coming out, will hit Chauso. But a nice heal coming out of Nami to keep everybody alive. But interestingly enough, the ward game not going to translate from top lane to the bottom, from the top side of the jungle to the bottom side of the jungle. And UTSA had a golden opportunity to find something there, and they were unable to.
Yeah, that is super rough. I mean, they got the flash and the heal out of Cookie's OP, which is really big because that affects his mobility in the next team fight. But the way that UGA has been playing, I don't think that matters.
Oh, nice pop-up, and a Nami hitting a 3-man, 4-man knock-up. Tarsier getting cut down into size. Shadowy Figure seeing the light. He goes down. Cookie's OP picking that one up. Mexican forced to flash over the wall. Gets over the border, but will not meet his fate. It's gonna be Explosive Haze picking up that kill. 3 kills heading on over. It's a 5 against 2 now with Baron on the side of Georgia Bulldogs.
Yeah, that is huge for them. I mean, basically Mikhail just popped his Nautilus shield and then walked at them. He's like, what are you gonna do about it? You can't do anything about this. Like,
oh, flying Dutchman. It's the king. You don't want that.
He was trying to do the deadly flourish steal that we saw Sneaky do in LCS.
Against, of course, Team Liquid. Good old Matt. Stepping aside, dodging skill shots. But nope, he's gonna meet not just one Fang, but 2 Fangs right to the face, and that's gonna be not just Baron, but Dragon being taken here, unless Ro8 gets one heck of a steal. Nope, a little bit late. And everything going towards the Bulldogs right now. SCC dominance, flexing its muscle, not only in football, but currently right now on the Rift.
Yeah, I mean, this is really great. At least for some history of the UGA teams and stuff like that. Because they were a pretty big program. I think it was about 3 or 4 years ago, and they kind of discontinued, and it fell off a little bit. And they did field a consistent team for like the NACC, and then what eventually did become ULOL as it is now. But it's really great to see UGA really kind of rally and bring their names to the forefront of esports again, at least in the East Coast.
Absolutely.
And something to note is we do see UTSA like constantly being pushed back, but look at the ward control they at least have in their bottom side jungle, so they're not getting caught out in their own jungle, right? I mean, you have 4 wards on bottom side with control ward, and you have like 1 or 2 wards there at the top lane to try to at least keep you safe from UGA aggressing down into the middle of your base from that path. While it doesn't provide them a whole lot of protection, it at least keeps them from fearing getting picked off in their own jungle.
Yeah, but unfortunately for them, that's not where the fighting's happening. The fighting is happening on the top side of the map, and that's where we've seen the vision battles go down. They just haven't been able to capitalize on opportunities that they've seen, as we do have the curtain call getting opened up here. Shadowy Figure getting exhausted, not able to get into the back line. Long range tidal wave, gonna pick up the kill. Explosive Haze acting like a firestorm. He picks up yet another one, his 2nd kill.
I mean, that's huge. And look at this. Tarsier is under his own turret. Mikhail's just chilling, doing Nautilus things. I mean, like, he doesn't care. This is ridiculous. And here comes Cookie's OP to help him out.
And Tarsier's out of mana, flashes away. That was his last chance. There's the dredge line. Arrows to the face. It's going to be another kill heading over to Cookie's OP. 3-0-6. Doesn't matter how many kills he has. He has a perfect KDA along with the bot lane. His bot lane duo right now is Explosive Haze looking to try and match him. 2 kills over for him right now as the top inhibitor will be going down. And the bottom inhibitor. My goodness, Georgia might go ahead and look to end this one now with Baron-empowered minions.
Yeah, they do have the Baron for about another 15 seconds or so, and that is going to be huge in helping to push down these turrets.
Oh, Chauso body slamming death. Not the best play there. He ends up going down, but a Nexus turret does go down. 33 minutes into the game, 18-6. Over 10,000 gold lead right now, a 13,000 gold lead if we're getting a little bit more specific. And Georgia tightening the screws and trying to take hold and finish this first game 1 off in this best-of-3 series of the round of 8 in the South bracket.
Yeah, and if you're UTSA, I mean, at this point, you've got to be kind of telling yourself, like, I don't think we're going to win this game, but I think what's really important is that they're not just, like, pulling the trigger and, like, surrendering or, like, stopping to fight against UGA, at least in terms of the mental battle, right? Something that I like to talk about is the mental fortitude of these teams is, like, no matter how bad your loss is in the first game, like, you have to stick it with it for the second game because you, like, all kinds of crazy stuff happens, like, all the time. And it gives you an excellent opportunity to talk amongst yourselves and figure out, like, what adjustments are we going to make, at least in pick ban or, like, in the overall team fight about how we're going to kind of try to fix this for the next game, right?
Absolutely. But while this game is still playing, I think you have to try and see what your options are to get back. Do you play through shadowy figures? Do you try and set up Mexicant? Only one lethality item right now on Flying Dutchman, obviously the Yomu's Ghostblade, but really not much else. So I'd imagine you try to find a fight where Mexicant can go ahead and pop off, get a catch onto the king in the mid lane, Burger. Oh, nice dodge there by Shadowy Figure. Chauso gonna go ahead. There it is. Mexicant gets taken down immediately. Explosive Haze, as many kills as his AD carry. Flying Dutchman doing a decent amount of damage to the back line of Georgia. Chauso very low. Dutchman trying to get in. Gets caught by the CC. Down he goes. Flying Dutchman meeting the Red Baron, also known as Ugga the Bulldog. And the Bulldogs now running over the Road Runners. And it's gonna be the Nexus here. Game 1. Definitely, consistently, always was going to the University of Georgia. They're up 1-0 on UT San Antonio.
Yeah, I mean, that's huge. 11-0 in towers? Like, UTSA didn't get a single tower. Are you kidding me? Like, that's just, like, straight dominant, aggressive, and, like, very controlled play coming out of UGA, playing around their comp perfectly, getting the picks that they need to. Explosive Haze playing huge on that Nami, landing the tidal waves, the double bubbles, making the picks happen for UGA.
Yeah, Explosive Haze ending with the perfect KDA, just like Cookie's OP. But let's take a look. 16 kill participation for Explosive Haze, only 12 for Cookie's OP. So, I don't know. Who's carrying who in that bot lane? Explosive Haze bringing it for the Georgia Bulldogs. Had solid engages, great bubbles, and the king in the mid lane. It's Kevin, fan favorite Kevin. Tell it like it is. Burger popping off 10-2-5 on the Cassiopeia. Pocket pick, probably something ban-worthy. And if you're the side of UTSA, you have to figure out, was it we didn't play our composition correctly, or this composition does not work? We need to get them off a couple of those champions. Maybe that Gragas was throwing them off. Maybe the Cassiopeia in the mid lane was a little bit too strong. They have to figure that one out when they meet up.
Yeah, and I think that's something that they do need to decide. Like, the bans that they took out, like, were they worth it, right? I mean, I think I saw the Ivern ban come out for the side of UTSA and like things like that. So unless Chauso is like a god on Ivern, maybe it's not a ban that you really want to put out there. Maybe, like you said, try to take away that cast, or maybe at least first pick away the Ashe or something to kind of help them stay in the game, at least in the pick ban phase.
Absolutely. So with that, we're going to go ahead and get these guys back in the lobby, take a very short break. UTSA gonna regroup, trying to figure out their way back into the game. They're down 1-0 to the number 8 seed Georgia Bulldogs. We'll have game 2 right after the short message. Don't touch that browser.
Only $14.99.